Top 7 skills every kid had in the 80s that are nearly extinct now. You learned it without being taught. Nobody signed you up for a class. Nobody gave you a certificate when you were done. You just picked it up the way children pick things up, by doing it over and over until it became second nature. But somewhere between then and now, those skills quietly disappeared. Not because they were useless, but because the world changed around them, and suddenly there was an easier way, a faster way, a way that did not require you to know how to do it yourself. These are the 7 skills every kid had in the 80s that are nearly extinct now, and why losing them matters more than most people realize. Number 7. Reading a paper map. Before GPS, there was a map in the glove compartment. It was folded, usually imperfectly, into a thick rectangle that never or from a friend's house, or in an emergency, you had to know the number. Full stop. The mobile phone changed this gradually through the 1990s and then completely through the 2000s. Once your phone stored the numbers for you, the need to memorize them evaporated. And memory, like muscle, atrophies when it is not used. Cognitive scientists have a term for this shift: transactive memory. The idea, developed by psychologist Daniel Wegner, is that humans naturally offload memory to external systems, whether other people, notebooks, or devices. The concern is not that we use tools to remember things. The concern is that when those tools fail, we are left with nothing. Most adults today, if asked to dial their spouse's number from memory on an unfamiliar phone, will not be able to do it. Most children growing up now will never need to try. Number 5. Entertaining yourself with nothing. There was an afternoon with nothing in it. No plans, no screens, no organized activity, just time and the low-level restlessness that came with it. And then, eventually, something happened. You built something. You invented a game. You went outside and found something to investigate. You made the afternoon into something out of nothing. This was not a special skill in the 1980s. It was simply childhood. Unstructured time was the default, not the exception. The average child in the early 1980s had significantly more free, unsupervised time than children do today. But what happened in that unstructured time was not nothing. Research by psychologist Stuart Brown, founder of the National Institute for Play, has shown that unstructured play is critical to the development of creativity, emotional regulation, social problem-solving, and executive function. The brain, when left without a task, does not simply idle. It builds. Today, unstructured time has become something that has to be scheduled and defended. Children move from school to organized activities to homework to screens, and the empty afternoon has largely disappeared. The ability to entertain yourself with nothing sounds trivial, but it is the foundation of imagination. And imagination is the foundation of almost everything else. Number 4. Fixing things instead of replacing them. Something broke, and the first question was not where to buy a new one. It was how to fix it. A bicycle chain came off and you put it back. A kite string tangled and you untangled it. A toy stopped working and you opened it up, looked inside, and tried to understand what had gone wrong. Sometimes you fixed it. Sometimes you made it worse. But the instinct, the first instinct, was always to try. This was partly economic. In the 1980s, many families could not afford to simply replace things. But it was also cultural. There was a widespread assumption that objects were meant to be maintained, that ownership included the responsibility of care, and that understanding how something worked was a natural part of using it. The right to repair movement, which gained significant momentum in the 2010s and 2020s, emerged largely because modern products are increasingly designed to be difficult or impossible to repair. Sealed components, proprietary tools, software locks. A 2021 report by the European Environmental Bureau found that extending the life of household appliances by just a few years could significantly reduce carbon emissions and electronic waste. Children in the 1980s grew up with a baseline mechanical literacy that most children today do not have. They knew how things were put together, at least roughly, because they had taken them apart. That knowledge is not just practical. It is a way of seeing the world as something understandable, as something you can engage with rather than simply consume. Number 3. Handwriting that people could actually read. You practiced it for years. In school, handwriting was a subject. Not a side note, not an afterthought, but a dedicated part of the curriculum with its own rules, its own drills, and its own standards. You learned to form each letter correctly. You learned cursive, the connected flowing script that adults use in the real world. And you were graded on it. By the end of elementary school, most children in the 1980s could write legibly, quickly, and in a style that would be recognizable and readable to any adult. The decline of handwriting instruction in schools accelerated through the 2000s and 2010s as keyboards became the dominant mode of written communication. Many school districts reduced or eliminated cursive instruction entirely. In 2010, the Common Core state standards in the United States did not include cursive writing as a requirement, a decision that effectively removed it from millions of classrooms. Research has since pushed back strongly against this trend. Studies at Princeton University and UCLA found that students who take notes by hand retain information significantly better than those who type, because handwriting requires active summarizing rather than passive transcription. Neurological research has also shown that the fine motor movements involved in handwriting activate broader networks in the brain associated with language and memory. Cursive, in particular, may be genuinely irreplaceable as a cognitive tool, and yet an entire generation is now growing up without it. Number 2. Navigating social situations without a script. You had to figure it out in real time. When you disagreed with a friend on the playground, there was no time to compose your thoughts, no ability to edit before you spoke, no option to walk away and respond later. You had to read the other person's face, manage your own reaction, find words that worked, and keep the relationship intact, all at once in the moment. This is an extraordinarily complex skill, and children in the 1980s practiced it constantly because all of their social interaction happened in person or at most over the telephone, where tone and timing were everything. Psychologist Jean Twenge, who has studied generational differences in social development, has documented a significant decline in face-to-face social skills among young people who grew up with smartphones as their primary mode of communication. Her research, published in part in her book iGen, found that adolescents who spend more time on screens and less time in face-to-face interaction show higher rates of loneliness, anxiety, and difficulty reading social cues. The ability to navigate a disagreement in real time, to apologize in person, to read a room, to hold eye contact, to manage silence without filling it with a phone, these are not soft skills. They are the architecture of human relationship, and they are built through practice, specifically the kind of unmediated, unscripted, in-person practice that children in the 1980s had by default. Number 1. Patience. This is the simplest one, and perhaps the most important. In the 1980s, you waited. You waited for the movie to come to television. You waited for your favorite song to come on the radio. You waited for a letter to arrive, for a friend to come over, for the weekend, for summer. Waiting was not an interruption to life. It was woven into the texture of it. And in that waiting, something happened. You learned that good things took time. You learned that anticipation was its own kind of pleasure. You learned that discomfort was temporary and that you could sit inside it without the world ending. Research in psychology has consistently linked the capacity for delayed gratification with positive life outcomes. The famous Stanford Marshmallow studies and decades of follow-up research found that children who could wait for a larger reward showed better outcomes in education, health, and social functioning over the long term. Today, the architecture of daily life has been redesigned around the elimination of waiting. Streaming removes the wait for content. Delivery removes the wait for goods. Instant messaging removes the wait for a reply. Every friction point that once required patience has been smoothed away. This is comfortable. And it is also, quietly, a form of deprivation. Because patience is not just a virtue. It is a skill. And like every skill, it has to be practiced to be kept. The children of the 1980s practiced it every single day, without knowing they were doing it. And the children growing up now may never get the chance. And that's the end of today's countdown. Some memories make us laugh, some make us think, and some remind us how much the world has changed. If this video brought back a memory, share it with someone who would understand. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.